Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. What? Am I tripping or is this a second stream? So hello, welcome in. Happy Friday to all of you. As most of you know, Fridays on my stream are community days, which we just had one. And I am now going to just finish up my workday. Decided to go ahead and stream. So welcome to this special episode of just doing my day job. Mojo says to Scott, you're tripping. But hi, Bardaki. Hi, Mojo. Hi, Dukasoft. Hi, Scott. Hello, everyone that is hanging about. Hope you had an enjoyable day so far. Just going to hop right into it. We've been talking for quite a while earlier. If you missed today's Community Day stream, we had TBD Gamer, we had Peter, we had Mojo, and we had lots of conversations and talked about stuff and things. Fun times too. Hell yeah. I mean, hell yay. Bardeki is gonna lurk because he has a bug to squash. Well, good luck. No, good. You're gonna do it. You're gonna get it done. You don't need luck. You got this. But he did post a joke. Bardeki did. What did the fruit basket say to the developer? I hope you're ready for some pair programming. I get it. 2. All right, but yeah, so I'm in the middle of my workday. I've already done 3 hours of it, or 5 hours of it is what I meant to say. What? This doesn't seem right. We did 2 hours of stream. Yeah. Wait. Why does my timer say 7 hours? That doesn't make sense. We did 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 3 hours, and then took an hour break, and then 8:30 to 9:30, 9:30 to 10:30, and then we streamed. Yeah. Why were you so hot? Maybe I needed to refresh and it didn't actually get the right time on there. But anyway, I've only done 5 hours of work today so far, so we're going to finish it out. A note, because I don't want any of you to ever feel obligated to be anywhere that you aren't normally. If there are other things you normally do now, please don't feel obligated to be here. Don't be distracted. I'm just going to be doing my job, my day job. So drink water. I did refill my water. Hi, I'm in the middle of my workday. I'm Dukasoft. I'm in hi in the middle of my workday. So yeah, what I've been working on is still this library for importing Excel files and CSVs and turning them into C# objects so that I can eventually push them to a database to get stored. On Monday, we finished off the process of creating a class diagram so that I could understand what all was going on with the code base, because I wasn't happy with it at the time. And it's not in any better condition, but I am happy with it. And so, yeah, then at the end of Monday's stream, I finally got to a point where I understood what my intent was with a lot of the stuff. By Wednesday's stream, I was in the middle of continuing to implement all of these stuff and things. And yesterday and today, I worked on doing a lot of refactoring to make it easier for me to follow. And I implemented the actual value transformation operations. That was a big thing that I wanted to get done. So I implemented the value transformation operations, which is essentially anytime that you are trying to map one imported field to a property of the class, you are allowed to transform it by performing a regex operation on it, interpolate the result of your regex matches, and or just interpolating the value by itself, the original value, with some extra strings, and or doing a substring on it. I'm sure there are going to be more operations as we build up the UI to perform the actual mapping process. but these are the three that I could think of that made the most sense to do. Yeah, and these make sense as well. So the point that I am at now is that I just finished the final, actually I did a little bit of refactor for the generate syntax as well. I implemented that. I don't know if I'm going to end up using the generate syntax. I think it's going to be how I store the record in the database when I'm saving templates, but at the same time, I don't think I will be, since it will store the object type as well. I need to figure out how it's going to be stored in the database. We'll plan that out together, most likely. Do we want to do that next? I think the next thing that I was trying to do was adapting the existing components to work with the way that I have the models in the structure. So I think we're going to do that now. Yeah. And not only that, but I'm going to make it more generic. Right now, it's pretty much purpose-built for importing lab data files. And what I mean by that is, let's go ahead and take a look at the minimum viable product. I'm not going to call it a POC anymore, because it really is more like a skin on top of it that is the actual functionality of the app and not just proving that some functionality works. I also may be distracted because my normal 1 o'clock my time routine is to semi-tune into Irish John games, because I don't know, I just like hanging out there. It's fun times, you know? So yeah, even though I haven't really been chatting all that much lately because I've been so focused on getting this done. But can recommend. Shout out to Irish John Games. IJG for the win. Why did you open over there? Because that was the last browser you put the focus on. I know. I meant you to be over here. Here is the repo for it, by the way. These are all private repos. However, because of because of the way that things have worked out, I will be able to take, if this library works the way that I want it to, I'll be able to extract the methodology and stuff like that of this library and open source it. But then the actual specific lab data import service. Oh yeah, he's taking today and tomorrow off. I forgot, you're right, Dukasoft, so I won't be stepping on his toes. Huh. That kind of works out, doesn't it? This was very spur of the moment. This was just, let's go ahead and do it. You guys have helped me stay focused on the actual code and make progress again. I really did feel like I was starting to walk through mud, is the feeling that I want to describe it as, but I would get stuff done still, but not at the velocity that I was used to getting stuff done, especially when it comes to implementing a new feature, greenfield, from scratch, and enjoying it and having fun with it, and just that overall excitedness for being able to work on software. It was pretty low, which was surprising. But since I started streaming the work on Monday and Wednesday, it's just going. So thank you all, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Because like, I know that feeling all too well. It's kind of strange for me. It's an odd feeling. But yeah, so to fully understand this one more time before I start putting together the UI components, which I'm gonna turn these, which are the ones, like I said, that are purpose-built to importing lab data. All I can say is thanks, WordPress. No. And then turning it into mapping from the imported Excel file to any class that you create in your own code that uses this library. So we're going to do that. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome and wonderful. But to do that, let's understand the code that I do have. A lot of it is generated, like the very basis of it, the core of it, is this mapping rule base and value transformation base. So mapping rule base is the concept of taking values from a red file, from columns in a red file, and mapping them to the properties in a destination class, C# class. And that has all of the logic for how do I do the actual mapping when the user specifies, like however it's represented in the UI. We're not even concerned with what it's going to look like in the UI. So when I apply, what does that do? And in short, it applies all of the value transformations. So let's say I've mapped a field from field A to class property named field B or something. While I am changing or moving the value into that class property, I want to be able to transform it. I only want the first 3 characters of it, or the first set of numbers that you get from this, the input value. So that's a value transformation. And then when you implement, when you inherit from those base classes and you create your own mapping rule bases, for example, a calculate rule that says when you are applying this mapping rule, I want you to do math on the input value before outputting it to the field, which is kind of like a value transformation. So I really need to rethink that. Should this be a calculate rule or should it be a transformation operation? I think it's going to be a transformation operation now that I've said that out loud. So we'll go through creating a new one so you can see what all happens when you create a new transformation, value transformation operation, nation, bacon thing. But that's what our rules are. So copying a rule just means whatever value is in the source, we're just going to apply transformations to it, but then copy that to the output. And then map rule is you're going to be able to apply transformations to the original value, look up that transformed value in a map, essentially. So this really is kind of like a hash map, where you have some input value and you get back an output value. So why don't you just make it a hash map? Because there's no such thing as hash map. There is a hash set. That's actually not, I don't know. Would that work better as a hash set? It might. We'll see. But anyway, transform the value, look it up in a table, and give me back the result. And that's a mapping rule. And that's why it's not an actual transformation itself. It is a rule for how to copy or to get the value from your source to your destination. Transformations, interpolate means it only works on an array of string. So the thing that comes in must have been, or no, not only on an array of string, could be an array of string, or I forgot about that. Wait, is this interpolate? I must not have updated everything that I needed to. I'm glad I'm doing this. I would have been confused as to why this isn't working. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Interpolate is the concept of like C# syntax when you use these placeholders with this type of syntax, then you can concatenate strings on it or interpolate other strings with it. So it's going to be syntax similar to this, and the logic for it is down here, which is we're essentially looking for specific syntax in the form of, yeah, that works. So like $, curly brace, and then the index number, because if we were using string format, I don't think and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I don't think there's a way to say like string format equals I want it to have, or I want it to have 1 here followed by 0 followed by 1 again, and then have formatted string format A B, and then have this actually output A dash, oh sorry, B dash A dash B. I don't think this works. I actually kind of want to try it real quick. And I think the easiest way to try this is, what is it called? CS Fiddle? .NET Fiddle. All right, we're going to see what this actually outputs. It should give me an error, I think. What? I didn't know that. I could have sworn that I've tried this many times before, and it never worked like this. Is there a reason that I wouldn't want to use this syntax? There is a possibility that in the values that we get provided by the lab, there will be curly braces surrounding numbers. Yeah, it's entirely possible that we will get values that come in looking like this to begin with. So my escape for that is we will never get any values that look like this. Come up to the lab and see what's on this lab. Mojo says, oh, that's what? That's what? The suspense. Anyway, this is good to know. I really thought that I tried this, and that's why I'm almost always defaulting to using this $sign syntax. Oh, just this overall? Yeah. I totally didn't think it was possible either. But it does what I'm expecting it to do. Gosh. How many times I've done workarounds because I thought that string format didn't work like this, and it does. Aw. Do you have a dark mode? I like .NET Fiddle, but you guys could really use a dark mode. Just saying. Okay. Point is, I'm going to keep this logic where I'm just going to loop through all of the values that we got back. And the way that I'm getting it to be able to be used on either a single value or the result of a regex, for example, that gives back a string array, is I have this extension method on this transformation result that checks to see, can I turn this into an array? And if so, then try to deserialize it as a string array. And then if not, then that means it's a single string because I'm already checking for making sure it's not empty, not null or white space. If it's a string, then I just create a new array with one element, which is that string value. So then we are then going to get back, like, let's say that we only got back one string, for example. And the input value, the one that we read from the column, would be something like 123 dash 554 dash 1234. the user didn't do a regex on it or anything, so that is the string itself, but they wanted to do an interpolation on it. Yeah, I liked it that actually. Of $0, $1, $2, and let's just say they were intending to reorder those three numbers, those three groups of numbers, but they didn't do a regex expression. Then the output that we would get is actually going to be $ curly brace 1 dash 123 dash 55554 dash 1234 dash $2, because those $ curly braces would not have gotten replaced using this method. And that is what I want to see. That would be expected behavior for this. So the real answer would have been to do a regex first. And that regex would have been give me only all of the numbers, the groups of numbers, and that would have given us this back, and then the interpolate after that with $0, no, $1 curly brace, $0, $2. But if they did $3 here, for example, then this would output. Are you going to do it for me, Copilot? Dash $3. So I would still keep the placeholder there. I'm going to have to think about that one too. We'll see it in practice, whether we want to keep any trailing unreplaced $ curly braces. Oh, this is going to be hard to write the pattern for. It would be the group of a literal curly brace, no, $, literal $, literal curly brace, any number, any amount of numbers, at least one number inside, and then a literal closed curly brace. I think that's what the pattern would be. Something like that. Anyway, hello, Black Arrow. Wasp. What is WSP? Is it just a onomatopoeia? A fun thing to say? I guess it's been a while. I really don't know how long it's been. Me too. What's up? My gosh. Forgive me. I know these things. Oh, I need to keep that there. Yeah. Well, welcome back. Obviously we've seen each other before, and I don't remember when. We've seen each other before. Do you know how long it's been since you've been here? Have you changed your name or anything? If it makes you feel any better, I didn't know either. Thank you, Dukusa, for the solidarity. Yeah, I bet you this makes you feel really good that I can't remember things like that. Oh. Okay, anyway, that's interpolate. Regex match, as you saw, is just essentially going to take like this one. I kind of am picturing what the UI would look like on top of the library, which is the like whoever uses this library will be responsible for generating the actual regex itself. But in the UI, I'm planning on having things like drop down pickers, combo boxes, where you can say I want to match, or I want to extract all numerical values, and then it would generate the regex \d plus, and that way we get back the groups, and then at the same time it's going to show you the result of what that might look like on a sample value. And we're going to see that very soon, because that's what I am going to be working on next. So those are regexes. I need to, no, that's generate syntax. We'll get to that. I don't think I need to use generate syntax at all. To apply it, I have indicated that you aren't allowed to run regex when the most recent thing that was run caused the output to be a JSON array, because I wouldn't know how to provide the response array. It'd be like a multi-dimension array, and then I have to figure out how to use interpolate to actually be able to use that number pattern to create the string. So I just say, if anything gives us back a collection of values, you can't use the regex after it. Yeah. And if, oh geez, if the regex only gives us back one match, then it outputs that as the string itself, not as a string array of just one value. I still like that. I'm not angry about that decision. Okay, with that, I'm gonna call the, and I say this a lot, the verbiage that I choose to use. I'm gonna call this branch that I'm working on for the library done, so that I can start on the next branch, which is going to be to pull over all of the UI code once I start working on Kenny's string. Okay. So commit. Cleaned up operations. I also changed the generate. Is this what this is? Yeah, this is also implementing the generate syntax method. It might be the 40 plus issues, not sure. Oh dear, I've lost track. What did I say that spurred you to say that? Oh no. I also committed the other branch. This is one thing about working with, or other repo. This is one thing about working in multiple repos and the same solution. What exactly changed in that file? I added user secrets to the sample app. I don't want that in this to have this commit name. So just for you, we are going to reset, keep changes, but the other one gets to stay. This one, you get to stay. Cool. Added user secrets. Because like I said, this is eventually going to save the definitions you create, specifically you in the front there, create to the database. And so I need a database connection. Push, please. I'm going to, oh yeah. Okay, so here is a part of my normal work process that many of you might be like, you're a solo dev, why are you doing it this way? And I will constantly say that I like to keep up this practice so that if I ever am in a situation where I'm working on a team again, it's just normal. The 40 plus issue. Got it. Not knowing WSP 40 plus age issue. So many new ones being invented. Gotcha. See, this is a 40 plus issue. No, this is just a me thing. I wouldn't have known if I was 22. I don't know current things, social things. Okay, here's the thing that I do on my own that is not necessary to do as a solo developer, but I like to keep the practice going. And that is to do a pull request when I am done working in a branch. Implemented the value operations. And then, of course, you know, if I was working on a team, I would have at least one other reviewer. I wouldn't be able to review and complete my own, but that's what I'm doing. So what I could do is continue using the same commit process that I'm doing and always work in main, but I still prefer working on branches, you know? Okay, so there we go. Oh, and there is something that I did forget, which is that I wanted to bump the version number because this is going to kick off the pipeline since I'm pushing to main. But that's okay. We'll bump the version number when we start our next effort. I'm pretty sure I bumped the version number at the beginning. And what I mean by that is this library generates a NuGet package. And that NuGet package is defined mostly in my directory.build props. May as well add it. This one. And so you can see here where I have like a version number, and this is essentially the version number of the NuGet package itself. And so normally before I do a commit, I bump it. And the reason I do it before the PR, and the reason I do it before the PR is because, again, if I'm working on a team, someone else may have done an update to the NuGet project that I'm working in the library that I'm working in. And so I want to make sure that I'm always bumping the number one more than whatever the most recent was. So I didn't even do that either. This is what I mean. I would have been in trouble if I was still working on a team. The very first thing I would have done before doing the PR was go to main, pull latest, merge into my branch, and then make sure everything still worked. Man, drop that one. It's all coming back to me though. I remember what it's like, you know. Okay. Dukasov said, I do this a lot and kind of ashamed. Git commit-m days work. And Mojo's like, git add all in a day's work. Yeah, that's asking for trouble, says President Not Sure. President Not Sure also said, I'm starting to automate the versioning stuff in Azure DevOps and use the build number. I was all manual before. I'm afraid to now. I ran into one issue once and I was like, I'm not doing that again. I should. I really should. It's a lot easier than trying to provide or keep a version number up to date manually through a file. Maybe I'm okay with doing that now. If you have the time to talk me through telling it to always use the build to create the version. Use the GitHub action to put the commit tag in the PR. So GitHub action and make it x.x.x. and then the commit tag. I need to learn how to squash my own branch. So squashing is if you have multiple commits that are related to each other. Like I wouldn't recommend squashing commits that were different efforts, you know? Like let's say that my entire branch was specifically about implementing the apply on all of these value operations. If I did a commit that changed a mapping rule, I wouldn't want to squash that in with the actual value operations commits, value operation related commits. Now, if I did only the value operations apply, and like I finish the interpolate, I do a small commit, I finish the regex match, I do a small commit, I finish the substring operation, I do a small commit, and then I squash those, that makes sense when they're not very much code. But really keeping my commits light, I would prefer to do that. But yeah, to squash a commit in Visual Studio, if you are using Visual Studio, you view all commits, select the ones, and they have to be consecutive, but you select the ones that you want to squash together, right click, squash, and you're done. Oh, and change the message. Mojo says, all you gotta do is on Fridays, just squash them and change them to a week's work. Very nice. President Not Sure said, I'm in progress with versioning stuff right now. I'm using bash scripts because that's what App Center did, and I ripped off some code there. Seems like a command line switch for a CS proj would be better for what you're doing. Yeah, it's very simple. I'll show you my pipeline really quick. If you definitely don't have to pay attention. You didn't ask for it. But my pipelines are pretty lightweight. They're pretty simple for class libraries that are getting turned into NuGet packages. The build pipeline fires on commit to main, which commits to main are only done via PRs in my repositories. So this really means a PR to main. Then the actual pipeline itself is get the code from the repo. Configure one variable, which is called base project name. Forgot about that part. Always use main. I could make one for test. I could make one for dev. I don't know why I would make one for dev. Okay, then use .NET 8 to do a... Oh, this is just download and install .NET 8 on the agent that's going to do the build. Do a .NET restore on the entire solution. If I'm doing individual projects as NuGet packages, I most likely would still do a NuGet restore or a .NET restore on the entire project, but the build would be for the specific NuGet package that I'm wanting to create with that build. But yeah, then I just do a .NET build, and then I put the result of that .NET build into the artifact staging directory, and then I take the stuff from the artifact staging directory and put it into my pipeline. so that my release now gets notified there is a new build available in the pipeline. And so my release then is configured to trigger on a new artifact is available in the pipeline. And only on main, of course. And when I see that there is a new artifact available in the pipeline, I immediately do a publish to my local NuGet feed. And that feed is specifically the artifacts feed here that has all of my NuGet packages that I can connect to through Visual Studio, blah, 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 blah. Read the docs, it's in there. So what that looks like is simply choose your agent and then publish to the prod folder. Wait, why is this one prod? This should be publish. We're looking at release. We're looking at release. I mean at test. Anyway, this should be published to test. Interesting. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. But I usually have my first stage in the pipeline be published to test. Then it'll sit there, it'll send me an email and say I finished publishing to test. And it'll wait for me to approve it to publish it to production. So one should have a dash beta or beta on it, and the other one shouldn't have a dash anything on it. Once I approve it, then it will publish whatever .NuGets to the artifacts feed. That artifact screen looks better than the last time I used it. Let's look at it. It's looked like this to me for a really long time, and I've used it a lot, but I mean, it's possible it's updated since the last time you looked at it. I do kind of remember an expand, maybe, that had the different versions listed under it. Oh, that's what it was. I usually put pre on it when I'm not ready for it. That's what it was. In that way, I can switch my project to -pre and then be able to download the test one, make sure it works in the application, and then push to production. Maybe because I was only using one feed, that made it look different to me. I think I am only using one feed. It's just that I have the -pre. I remember having at some point 2 different feeds, but now that I'm looking at it, I remember that I ended up using one feed and put -pre on the test versions and then the actual release. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. All the pipeline stuff you showed us is exactly what I've been working on, saving the NuGet part, pushing test builds to Google Play when I release from the release pipeline. Awesome. Yeah, so again, this is specific to any libraries that I use that are getting published into our NuGet feed, but the web applications have a slightly different build and release pipeline that aren't too different. They still have the publish to test and production steps. Seems like I'm doing it right. And Dickasoft says I'm using 2 feet. I wonder if you can add the commit build version in the pipelines UI. So yes, the answer is yes. And that can be done here. I just don't know how it treats the CS proj definition of all of it. I'm trying to go to edit, please. Let me go to edit. Oh my gosh. Here in options, this thingy here says put in the build number format. Then you should have access to $, curly brace, build something. I've done that before. But then it broke my NuGet publishes. It broke the release pipeline. Yeah, build number. Thank you, President. Not sure. I eventually want to get something automated to create my NuGets that I've been creating all manually lately. Oh, it broke your publishes. Yeah, so when I was trying to publish to the artifacts feed. And I think it was just because I was formatting it incorrectly. So my guess then is that in the CS proj, let me switch to main on that one. Not you, you. Yeah, let me finish up my build and release process real quick, my CI/CD stuff. The last step that I would do is to switch to main, pull main for that specific repo. Test it, make sure nothing broke, blah, 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 blah. And then delete my local branch so I don't forget. And that's one thing. Leaving branches in the actual repo in the remote, I'm not a fan of. Like, I like seeing this have only the active branches. This is a personal thing. You don't have to agree. I like having this show only active branches and main. I worked on a team where there was just so much mess in here that you don't know which branch is what. Which ones are... It was really messy. And actually we were using GitHub for the source control, so it was in GitHub's branches, but yeah. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of it. My assumption then is that instead of version here being this version number, we would have access to build number or something, and that's what would drive the version number, and then the version suffix would be -pre or nothing at all. That'd be so much better than needing to go through and reversion it every time. So I guess I would maybe do 1.0 . And then the only time that I would bump the version number myself is if I'm doing a major version. I still don't like that. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I would approach versioning this library. Build number is an integer that it increments for me automatically. But I need to take a look. Yeah, because like that's what I was thinking this ready? Pipelines. You edge it. This thingy here is what I thought that it might give us. And I kind of remember there being a way for you to specify a format of like year as your build format. But again, this was a while ago, because I got burned once and then I'm like, I'll just do the known way. I'll manually update it. I don't mind. Yeah, it's documented in there somewhere, but it would be cool if we did that at some point. What does it look like in one of my databases? Pipelines. So warning, I have a million databases that I work with. Oh, he remembers. I have that blank for build number format, just as you do, and by default, that is just an incremental integer for any build in the project if it's left blank. Yeah, I don't know if I would like that for these. Because like all of my databases have their own iteration, their own whatever they're on. But at the same time, okay. It doesn't really matter to me what that number is. It just needs to be the most recent one. That's all I care about. But you can format a string there that uses that integer. I know what you meant. Yeah, I kind of remember it being this format when I used it. And that's what it was angry at. Yeah, okay. Oh, no, okay, no. I remember. This is just Berto being an aesthetics type of person at that point in time. I didn't like seeing this number as the NuGet package version. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah. It was a lame reason. It was a very lame reason. Because it's like, it doesn't really matter. Users aren't going to see it. I know that it's going to be a new version if the next number version is higher than this one. What does it matter? Because I could always prefix it with the major version number. So I could always put 1 dot in front. And then if there are any major changes, it becomes 2 dot whatever the build number is. I'm going to do that. We're going to do that for this next build. See what it ends up looking like. Oh, and when you were using the build.build number, were you doing it in the NuGet configuration part of the CS proj? Or were you doing it a different way? Because it doesn't like this, apparently. Ran into a problem. The expression .build number cannot be evaluated. System string .build number could not be found. You're using $build.build number my bash scripts. Yeah, so I don't know how to actually access it in the CS proj. Let's take a quick glance. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I have been wanting to do this for a really long time. So C#, CS proj, build number for NuGet version, maybe. Not the assembly version. I don't care about the assembly version. /p property name value. Okay. So if I actually added in here a what is this thing? Version. I don't know. I'm thinking too hard, though. Oh, cool. President was telling me about the dash P thing. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to actually get it to work. So if I made this version 1 as my major version, then in the build, I should be able to set version suffix. I'm probably lagged because Bluetooth headphones. Pipelines. Where are we? We're in treatment plants. We need to get back to the import utility. Pipelines. This one. Edge it. You could create your own variable in CSproj and use that. That's what I was wanting to do. I just don't know how to do that myself. I'm very nub at this. Very, very nub. So if you have an easy way, I'll do it. Like, is it define constant? Oh, just write XML for it. So I would do something like version build number. We'll try in a property group. I'm going to go ahead and create a branch for this. New branch, who dis? Testing version. Yeah, bring changes. I was like, what changes? You're making changes right now. Then version. Oh. Ew, this is kind of annoying though. Because now I need to concatenate the version prefix with the build number and the version suffix. Maybe if I do it here, it'll be fine. Okay, this is how I do it. Oh, don't worry about the formatting. I can read it. Yeah, so iOS target framework is inside of a property group. Same with your Android target framework. And then you can use $, whatever it is. It's just a matter of being able to set this from outside of the application. Yeah, I like having it a little lower. I like having the top be my, like, I don't even think this same as known, is that what SAK stands for? I don't even like having these in here anymore because I don't think they're necessary, but it comes with the template, so I never remove them. Yeah. And besides, this is in the directory.build.props, so it's going to apply to every single one of the CS projects in the same directory or subdirectories from build props. Mojo is asking, if you didn't have testing in place and migrated code from 4.5 to /4.6 to 4.8, would you have concerns about deploying it? Absolutely. No package updates, just target versions. Yeah, I still would, because even version changes within the framework itself could break your code. Everything builds and runs fine at first glance. Yeah, I still would test it. I would at least do end-to-end tests on, let's say, your critical functions, your critical flows. And President Not Sure is also saying I would personally if I didn't do any testing. Okay, we're gonna test this out. Let's just see what it does. I'm gonna push only that one. Trying a CS proj variable to set version to build number. I just need to make sure that if I do any major changes, breaking changes, that I change the major version number. I wanted to do a commit and push. Heck, nabbit. Okay. Back in the pipeline. I look over there because that's where my alt tab is. Hard to be too careful when updating the framework version, in my opinion. And the Mojo says, cool code, just wanted to make sure we're not going overboard with manually testing everything. I'm probably still not going to be the best person to ask questions that have to do with making sure that everything is pristine before it goes out to clients, to users, because I go way overboard with that. I am very concerned with that, more so than I should be. Not .NET Restore, you there. Okay, so in the arguments, I need this here. Yeah, in .NET Build. Oh, all of them? .NET Restore, .NET Build, and .NET Pack? Okay, sure, why not? Wait, what? I'm copying. Yeah, this is still weird for me to see a slash when I'm using dash for all of my other switches. Hopefully this works. And then this is the build number. Okay, President Not Sure continued saying just the build step, right? I think so, but I mean, this thing was like pointing to add it to .NET Restore and .NET Build and .NET Pack. I don't need to put it in .NET Restore because that doesn't generate any symbols or any artifacts. Okay, we're gonna try it. Let's save in queue and do it on this branch, please. Oh, he says that's a bug in the tooling. Maybe that's fixed now. Well, let's find out. What is the harm in using 5 minutes? Did you set the property? I didn't. Thank you for catching that. Not delete, cancel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Still, you caught it. It's fine. That's why that was in my clipboard. try that again. Put on the right branch. Save run. Wrong. Time is a myth. So let me tell you about time while we're waiting. We're just going to see what the artifacts are that it creates. We're not going to let it do the publish or anything. So this is my favorite way to explain time. I need audio. I need a sample. Let's go with music. Are you actually going to be able to process this? Oops, did I do vocode? I meant wavetable, please. Okay, this, scrub a little bit. Okay, this is a representation of a slice of time, of right now. And if you look at it, you're kind of seeing that you would only exist at one of these points. So your right now is right here. But another you's right now, which is still you, is over here, even though you exist at the same time. So in order for you to experience what you experience as a point along this wave, you are only allowed to see anything from that perspective. And so you keep your eye on here, and your life is going to keep going up and down based on what's happening at that point. And that's what you experience as time. However, there is something further beyond time. And so this is every possible reality that exists in all time. So you might be here at this point in time, but that doesn't mean that this point in time for you doesn't already exist. In fact, I would argue that it does already exist. So time already exists here. However, you are allowed to travel anywhere on this line that is now for you and observe things from that perspective. So if you perceive that the place you're going to be at in time, in the future, is not where you want to be at, you can move your perspective over here so that by the time you get here, that thing is your reality. And that's called free will. And determinism is all things exist all the time already. The end. Are we built? No, we failed. Failed to restore. Anyway, moving on. That is one explanation that is not the actual truth, or maybe it is, but not necessarily. Let's go ahead and add the switch to you. Oops. And save and queue as added switch to restore. Okay, we'll watch it happen this time. It looks like it was pretty fast, provided the agent is gonna let me let the job through. And it did. One thing I noticed is that if I do a lot of jobs on my free agents, because I'm not paying for, dedicated agents or anything, If I do too many in a row, it's like, all right, you're gonna have to wait in line longer. Oh man, I loved Arrival. Arrival is really good. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking. Well, that one I didn't get into with the wave table, but the fact that you can perceive the the thing that's further down the table along the entire thing, that exists. So I could have told my time marker to jump to that point and then jump back to this other point. And so the slider itself is a metaphor, and yeah, it's really good. It's cool. I do recommend Arrival. President Not Sure if you're into sci-fi. I don't know, even if you're not into sci-fi, it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Hands down one of my favorites as far as alien time movies go. Yeah, Interstellar is still my top timeline futurist movie. Yes, we have a successful build. What artifacts did you create? It gave me 1 point. I rushed through that one, is what it was that had happened. Run new, choose the right branch. Let's try this again. It's barely sci-fi? I don't know. Anything that involves alien, future technology, and those topics to me, I would consider sci-fi. Okay, so one thing that is nice little touch that I like, just in case you're interested, I am interested. On that .NET Core task with the title use .NET Core 8 or whatever, I see that .NET version string in a variable, then the title of the task is use .NET Core SDK.NET version, and then in version I have .NET SDK version. So you are saying, well, let's just see if this is successful. But I do want to understand what you're saying, because I will be upgrading these to .NET 9 as well. Like, the thing that I'm hoping you're saying is that it will use whatever .NET version is being targeted here. Or are you saying that this here is going to be the $.NET SDK version, and that's set in the pipeline? Because I'd rather have it to where it reads whatever the target framework is of the project. Opinion, it uses sci-fi elements very minimally. I don't know, the aliens are pretty prominent in that, as well as the time descriptions. .NET Restore worked this time. .NET Build worked. Publishing the artifacts. One artifact produced. Yes! 942.0. Is it because it was a manual run that the build number became 942? No, that's what my builds look like. Okay, so there is one more thing that I need to learn. The point is, this works perfectly the way that we expected. To summarize what we did is that we set the version number of the CS projects to be a variable. Not a variable. We are always using a hard-coded major version number, I am, and then allowing for a version build number variable so that in the pipeline when it builds, oh, what's that going to do to my local builds though? Yeah, I had a feeling it would break my local builds. So essentially, version build number condition version build number is blank, then 0.0. Okay. And then version build number is not blank. All right, so I missed a thing. So if version build number is not blank, which is a variable that'll be provided from an external source while we're building, then we use whatever is provided. Otherwise, we use .0.0. And then we will have 1 dot whatever. So now my local builds should work. And for whatever reason, I broke something else. If interested, this is what it's based off of. I will take a look at it after my workday. Yeah. Okay. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. Yeah, so in short, we created a version that is using this external set variable from the command line from whatever. If it's not blank, and then if it is blank, defaults to 00. Always setting the version prefix to 1 dot whatever we set up there. And then the version suffix was always going to exist, which is just going to be populated by the external source. So if I had a build that was specifically for pre-release, then I would have a -pre as my version suffix. But that would be, again, specified in the pipeline. And then if it's not blank, then the version itself becomes version prefix -version suffix. Otherwise, the version is just the version prefix by itself. Makes sense. It's cool. I love it. I really am glad we went down that alley. Didn't get jumped. Oh yeah, and then in the build, we did need to, so no more manually changing, except that I do want to format the build number better. But I am keeping that for sure. I just need to figure out how to tell this thing that I want it to be the, I'm pretty sure it's, you know what? I do have a pipeline that is outputting with year, month, day. We just saw it not too long ago. Is that you? Yeah, it's you. The question is, how many numbers is the, oh, it's date and revision. How many numbers are allowed in the second part of the number version? Yeah, so in this last build, we were leaving the build number format blank, which just gave us the overall build number from the entire repo, or from the entire organization, actually. I treat versions like IP addresses. So let's just see what this looks like. So it's going to be based off of the date and then the revision number, which we're going to output as .r. So how many builds have you had in that day, essentially? Yeah, let's just give it a try. Two, 5, 5. Wait, are you actually saying that it's it can only go up to 255, or just that's for your own repos? Yeah, and I like that. I like the reset each day. Okay, good. Because if it can't take a an 8-digit number, that would be bad. Because I think that's what it was before too. The number of the value of the second numeric thing. But we'll see. What'd you call me? Okay, while I'm waiting for that to build, I am gonna go ahead and publish or merge this. Because it is doing what I want it to do. It's just not currently formatted the way I want it to be. So updated way version. Build versions populated. And oh, wait. I am failing to test because it was running. Okay. Not failing to test, failing to build. I got words. I keep seeing all of these emails in my work email, and it's just all of the build succeeded messages. I'm like, man, are they still trying to get in contact with me? This is fine. Everything's fine. Who decided to put the Bluetooth antenna in the back part of the headphones? Do they not consider people that have poofy hair like me covering up the antenna? Wait, why didn't that... Oh, it didn't commit because I was making sure that it does build. Right. Okay, commit and push. And again, I am still doing a PR for this, even though it was just me messing with the build version number, not actually the code. Because that's what I would do if I was working on a team. Wait, it failed. Yeah. Wait, what? Why is there an extra .0? Major minor build revision. Oh. Yeah. So this was definitely what I've run into before. Thank you so much for the follow. I will not shout out your name, but know that I see you. Okay. And I'm okay with this. I don't mind this at all. I just need to figure out how I'm going to specify like, am I going to create another variable for the minor version, or am I going to control that here in code? Because like really the only thing I care about is one dot. One dot everything. Or yeah. Crap. Because it would almost need to be here. And then if I ever have a more minor version update. Okay. I'm starting to not want to use this at the moment because there are too many variables, too many factors. But just in case, I'm going to leave this branch because I'm only changing build.props. It's easy to resolve conflicts in build.props if I need to. So this is just going to become a stale branch until we revisit it because I do need to move on. Man, that was really close. Sorry, I'm giving up on it. Yeah, let me just make sure it builds one more time, and then updated version prefix to include minor. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that actually. I'm gonna do it the way that I'm saying I'm doing it. So call version build number. We'll do version minor. Actually, yeah, version minor. And we may as well go all the way, right? If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to select you, and call you minor. I'm gonna duplicate U2 and call minor major. Why are you all not equals? Okay. If the major version is not specified, it'll be 1. If the minor version is not specified, it'll be 0. Then we will do version major number, version minor number, and then version build number. Save. That way we control all of it in the pipeline, or in .NET Build, and .NET Pack, .NET everything. But that also means that I'm going to need to remember to bump the version in the actual build itself somehow when I'm ready to make a major version release. Man, I don't like that. But we're going with it. Do you still build? Do you? Do you? Okay, commit and push. I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more build just to see if it actually works with the new formatting. It should be 1.0.build number, 1.0.202.41018.2. I was about to start working. Here it goes. Onegai shimasu. You're a graphics designer. Or no, you are a graphic design. Awesome. Do you have a visual representation we can see? Is it in your profile? Is it your picture? In any case, welcome in, Samir. Can I call you that? Let me check out this link you are pasting. Ooh, you're on Behance. Awesome. So this is, yeah. How would you like me to address you? Samiraman or Samir or what? You tell me. But they are graphics designer. Very cool. Very awesome. I was trying a little bit of UI design in the previous streams. They are all currently on the YouTubes in a playlist called P01, Line Man, maybe P02, I don't remember. But all of the work that we did on that project, all of the videos for it are in that playlist if you're interested in seeing that. Wait, I just did the wrong one. I'm good at this. Wait, no, I didn't. Build failed. Same deal. You don't like my format? It did format it the way we were expecting it to, but it doesn't like the format. Still. And it's probably because this number here is too long. So I need the actual build number instead of the date, for example. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just the build number. We're going with that. Do I want to work with you? I currently don't have a need for it. I appreciate it, but yeah, not at the moment. Thank you so much for the offer, though. I need to go back to the pipeline real quick to fix all that mess. I can't go back to the pipeline using the back button. Yeah. Yeah, all of my DevOps stuff. Edit pipeline. Yeah, so again, you still haven't told me how to pronounce your name. Samir? Samirman? I don't currently have a need to do any kind of graphics design stuff. Like a lot of the UI that I work on is rudimentary at best, in my opinion. Not saying that it's terrible, not saying that it's bad, just I am not a UI designer. But it's also good enough for the client and the people that use it. So I don't need to invest extra time on making the UI too much better. Anything beyond the skill that I currently have. I was going to show one, but too lazy. Reverted build number to default. Okay, we're going to see if it's happy with just using the default build number as the last number. I'll be happy with that if it works. And then I have to move on. And if this does work, I am definitely going to push the version change. Because again, it's going to make it one step easier for me to not have to increment the version number every time. I just have to be careful when I'm doing major changes. Oof. Man, I have not talked for this long in a long time. It's 4 hours. Whoa. It's kind of crazy to think that I used to stream for 6 hours and be okay with the talking. But I have no problem talking to myself all day anyway. Talking to myself again. Thank you for telling me that .NET Core SDK Runtime 2.2 and 3.0 are now at end of life. I'm not even using them. It built. Okay, so it's happy with that version pattern, of course, because the build number is currently only 3 digits. What happens when that build number gets beyond 3 digits? Oh, this helps me to remember pointing out a thing. The reason that I have the source generator, if you were paying attention, generating all of those base classes for me, when really I could just have those base classes in the overall library and just have the source generator look for classes that inherit from either the value transformation base or the mapping rule base, is because when, like, I'm of course thinking way too far ahead as per usual, but when I do turn this into a public open source project, open source library, I would like for you, the consumer of the library, to be able to just create your own import utility by yourself. You don't have to use my predefined calculate rule, copy rule, ignore rule, whatever. You can create your own simply by only referencing the source generator library itself, and then it'll do all of the source generator stuff for you. I think you still do need to have all of this. I would need to put that in the README. But when you're referencing that project, you still need the output item type analyzer, reference assembly type false, this kind of thing. I am too. I am too. Is it a semvar issue? What is semvar? I don't know, is the answer. It's kind of interesting that you are the actual development itself and not the developer. But I also do web application development. That is my job, day in, day out. I have so much fun with it. I'm getting so much renewed vigor because of streaming to you guys. Again, I can't thank you enough, so I'm going to thank you again. Okay, we are done with that. That was fun. I liked it then. We're committed. I'm going to go do a publish. What are these called? Pull requests. Versioning options. Updated NuGet package versions to use build number. Semantic versioning. I think it's only 3.x's. I'm definite that you can use 4 dots. I really do think that it's the length of the minor version. So it might still be a semantic versioning thing. Or unless semantic version is specifically only 3 dots. But I'm pretty sure that the Visual Studio, or not Visual Studio, that the DevOps allows you to use 4 dot. The Microsoft Store only allows you to use 3 dot. Pretty sure. Approve, complete because we reviewed it, and delete the branch when you are done. Oh, it's so nice cleaning up branches. All right, back to main. Main, pull. Did you actually pull? Okay. Delete the local branch that is deleted from remote by now. And, oh, one more thing to clean up. All of these successful builds most likely kicked off release pipelines. So I am going to say no to that release pipeline. I will not allow it, although it did already publish one of them to the feed. Even though I don't think it's publishing anything, because the only ones that it should publish to the feed at this step are the ones that have -beta or -pre. Okay. But once this build pipeline finishes, then we'll have another release pipeline that's going to get triggered, but it's going to have the version number that follows our new version number system, and it's going to be good. Right, the other thing that I do. 3, but a suffix is allowed. for sem version. Okay, so sem version is specifically, or semantic versioning is specifically 3 dot, but you are allowed a dash pre dash beta. I don't know why I'm starting to say beta. That's not one that I usually say. I want it to be cool and say beta. I say beta usually. It just felt more fun to say beta. The end. Right. You're done. Go away. That finished. Here's our release. Z beta. Yeah, Z came about a while ago though. So I don't know. Again, that's probably one of those. I saw cool kids using it. I want to use it. It's easier for me to say Z than Z because sometimes it comes across as C, and my last name is spelt Cruz, and it gets misspelt quite a bit. It's not even that uncommon of a last name. It's Cruz. It's a very, very common last name. It's like Smith. All right. Where are we? Canada? Yeah, I think that's where we are. The thing that I also forgot that I do, and I'm only forgetting because I'm doing it on stream, but I really do this, is the reason that I have my project split up like this in Azure DevOps as a solo dev. One is because future proofing, if a team ends up working on this, then it's hopefully organized and they would be able to go to a specific web application based off of its project name. But two is because all of them have their own work items associated with them. And this is one thing that I'm kind of excited to see what Liquid Sky can do in the future for me. But I do work items for myself within the projects that are relevant. For example, the Armits file import utility has boards work items. And so one thing that I'm wanting to do with this is a task. So this would be a feature, and then the feature would have a whole bunch of tasks under it. But I didn't want to write a story. So the task is to pull in the UI, or no, create UI base UI components. Component, and then the description is use the existing sample app to create generic basic UI components for the library. Save, assign to me, active because I'm currently working on it. Then I have a task number now. And so when I create my new branch for this work, I now have task / whatever number it is, UI components. And only for that repository. So again, this has multiple repositories because I have the one that's going to be the specific lab implementation of the file import, but then I have the base file import library that's going to be able to be used with any kind of mapping from Excel, CSV, and eventually other formats. We'll just call them other formats. It doesn't have to be delimited formats either. It could be whatever you want to read and transform into your target class. Whew. Running out of breath. Isn't Liquid Sky that gaming platform? Liquid Sky is TBD's Shout out TBD Gamer. TBD's platform that he is working on. It is for project management and planning, and it's kind of like Jira, but it's organized in a way that makes a lot more sense for team dynamics, for the way that project managers should be focused on providing the requirements and the overall information about features and stuff, and the developer needs to see those requirements and do work on them. The project manager shouldn't be telling the developer how to implement, but what needs to be implemented, kind of thing. So I really, 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 really love that. A developer, I may not be the best, but I always want to learn how to be better, is his about message. And Dukasoft is like, nah, the best. So yeah, he streams Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time, which is UTC -4 currently until next month for us. And then everything goes haywire because I believe time changes earlier in Europe than it does in the US, and then everything is just all out of whack. How does it handle committing to 2 repos at the same time? It's really nice. So if I'm doing the same type of work in both libraries, for example, I'm updating the copy rule, and in my other library that's consuming this, I am updating things related to the copy rule. I write one commit message and it creates 2 commits, one for each repo with the same commit message. It's awesome. The thing that's hard about it is, in order for you to be able to do work in this, you have to clone both repos, and they have to follow the same naming. So for example, the lab import service references one of these, references the project from the other repo, but that means that the base folder for that project needs to be the same name. So everything inside of it is going to be the same name because, it's a repo, it's source controlled, but the folder that you put that Git repo in locally could be named whatever you want. Yeah. Oh, and it's definitely IDE agnostic if you're just using Git repos, because it's just how it lays on disk. So when this solution has another project referenced in it from another repo, that's the thing that makes it give you the multiple Git options. What do we do with this? We added the directory.build.props. Proppers. Data import library. And the other thing that I do like about having multiple repos is that it doesn't ask you every time when you push commit. It's nice. Yes, this is my work product. So the one that we are working on currently, Scott, if you hadn't been able to see it yet, is a data import utility where you can, and I actually need to run it because we're going to start working on UI. Oops, we're already in the right directory. Where you can choose a properly formatted Excel file. So we are kind of expecting worksheets within the Excel file to have the first row be either straight data to begin with, or a header row for all of the data contained within that worksheet. That's one thing that I'm not guarding against at the moment, because I have direct communication with the client who's going to be using the application, and just be like, no spaces before the first row, if the first row is a header row kind of thing. But this is just the sample app where I'm testing out the library and developing the library itself. This is not what the final product is going to look like yet. I mean, it's going to look somewhat close to this, but projects, new lab data process. And so the thing that's happening at work is we had one lab that did all of the analysis on our soil and water samples, and they sent us back results through another application called r-track. And so the lab, I love showing this UI. The lab does their analyses. They have these export files called record checks or transfer files, TRNs, that they then upload into this application that transforms those transfer files into the thing that ultimately gets stored in our database. The issue is that we are now having different labs do the analyses and send us back files in different formats. Not the same format as these TRN files, which are just text files with fixed width characters. So they asked me to have an easy way to be able to map these Excel and CSV files to our database. And this started off as a utility that was specific to that, but it was easy enough to make it generic to where it would be any CSV or XLSX file to any C# class that you want it to go to, as long as you define it in the app. And so the long and short of it is that you drag and drop the file or do the picker. I think you told me about what you did at work before too. And I would find that very helpful. I kind of made it a little bit extra complicated because the original file that I got from them that showed an example of the type of mappings that they were wanting to do made me think that they need some semi-advanced mapping capabilities. So this file that you see that has lab sample ID, client sample ID, matrix sample type, they've sent me this crosswalk that says labs, the very first one, lab sample ID is going to get output to both lab analysis number and analysis number fields. So these are all of the possible fields over here. It's going to go to both of those fields. So they need to be able to extract parts of the strings to put into those two fields. And so that's the thing that I just finished, which is called value transformation. Oh, and then matrix is the meth matrix, but in our database, meth matrix is a single character. The one that we got from them, if you look at method matrix, is an entire word. So in this case, water. It could be soil, it could be ground, it could be something else that needs to get mapped. Yeah. It's gonna happen a lot. I am used to it, and I kind of ignore the jokes that will come up with the names of the fields that the previous developers decided to land on. We'll have a fun time. Anyway, it'll be great. It'll be grand. And there goes all of my builds. Okay, back to work items, pipelines. And the cool thing is I can continue releasing all of these to my local pipeline, which I already approved apparently, because they're not in use. None of my projects are referencing this specific utility as a GitHub, as a NuGet package currently. So it doesn't matter what happens to the version number at the moment. So anyway, that's going to be fun, figuring out how to get all that working. As you can see, I already do have some components for doing things like picking the file and then displaying what file was selected and reading that file into a data set. If it's an XLSX file, then it has multiple sheets, such as this one. It will read all of the sheets and dump the data from each sheet into a separate data table in that data set. So we can see those. I'm having problems with the mapping field stuff because of the way that I'm extracting what fields and their data types exist. So I need to get that figured out. How difficult is it to learn DevOps? For the things that I use it for, not very difficult at all. It's pretty intuitive. You get this organization page, and within there you have a separation of your work in projects. So you create a new project. It asks you if you want to use Git version control. It used to have an option for Team Foundation version control, but they dropped that. And then this is just essentially creating a template for how that project's UI is laid out. I typically go with Agile or Armit's Agile. I didn't know I made a separate Armit's Agile version. So Armit's is the acronym for the organization, the Records Management and Information Technology Service. But anyway, that just tells you, do you get a board? Does that board come with a Kanban? What types of work items are available for you to create in that? Are you using sprints? Do you have a backlog? All of those types of things. For your repo, again, used to be able to have Team Foundation repos. I don't know if you still can, but when you create a new repository, I think you only get the option for Git. I can only get the option for Git at least. Yeah. Anyway, your code goes there. And then the other thing that I use it for, like I said, or like I did earlier, was to create new work items. You could, again, manage your sprints. It's all very intuitive. It's all, you do it within here. The one thing that was hard was finding out where exactly to define your sprints. And I think that is specifically done in project configuration. And I say sprints, I mean iterations. Sprint, the telephone company, does not like the use of sprint to mean iteration because it's branded. So we should be using iteration, blah, 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 blah. But you create your iterations, you set dates, usually 2 weeks. You also can do a release cycle. So these don't necessarily have to be only iterations, but they can be release cycles with 2-week iterations, like maybe 3 or 4 2-week iterations, depending on what your release cycle is. Yeah. And then finally, the other thing that I use it for is the pipeline itself. And the pipeline, if you're creating a pipeline and you're not comfortable with YAML, I'm not comfortable with YAML, but it looks like the only thing that you can do is create a pipeline using YAML. You can use the classic editor until they take it away from us. And that pretty much walks you through how are we going to get your code. All right, what do you want to do with that code? And I want to do a .NET. Oh, I have a template for this actually, for almost all of my stuff. Did I just call them all Armits? Anyway, I have templates that I use for this that just have the basics of it. For, am I making a library that generates a NuGet package? Then do the .NET restore, .NET build, publish. Am I making a website? Then do the .NET restore, .NET build, and then publish to one of my services, one of my environments. Lots of fun stuff. Yes! Nailed it. Wait, press ASD keys for direction. What are you saying? It didn't even give you your score. That's so mean. Let me see if I have your score in the logs. I've done CI/CD with GitHub Actions before using YAML. Yeah, and if you're comfortable with that, then Visual Studio does, or not Visual Studio, Azure DevOps does have some differences in the way that they, like, variables and stuff are defined in YAML. I don't think they're too different, but there are some pretty big differences. Wait, it did tell you. It just took a minute. What? Or I'm blind. I don't know. Oh, because you didn't finish your third shot. Yeah, you're quite welcome. The place that it does start to get a little bit more complex is when you need another repository. You need to access an external repository, or you need to deploy to different targets. And then you need to set up API keys for that. When you're cloning, you need to have a what are these called? Hat. Or not need to have, but it would be a good idea to use PATs for being able to do stuff from a developer's computer. And then have the PATs expire every 90 days and you need to renew your PAT, which means that you need to update your NuGet config for that repo. And oh my gosh, there's a bit to that part that gets pretty annoying. Expire. Yeah, I was in an organization where their policy was to expire every 60 days. And I had like three different organizations that I was connected to. Not fun. Okay, we are looking at adding some UI to that. To that. I said that because I was reading Dukasoft's message. I would hate that. I'm going to open the import utility solution by itself. Is there a reason you use Visual Studio and not another IDE? There is. It's not necessarily a good one. It's just that I have always used Visual Studio and I am very confident that it does everything that I need it to do. So I don't, earlier it was that I didn't need to pay for any other IDE, and Visual Studio Code, even though it's modular, would take me more to learn how to use when I'm already comfortable with Visual Studio proper. So yeah, that's the main reason. Free, had a whole bunch of tools that I used. I was already comfortable using it, does everything I needed to do. But yeah, and I'm can I say never? I want to say never. I never shame people for using a different IDE. If you prefer Writer, that's a preference. And you can definitely sell it. You can say everyone should use Writer because blah. Or ReSharper or whatever. But we'll just hold it as your opinion, as something that you truly believe as well. Okie dokie. Yes, so I started doing some stuff in here. New here, what are you making? So this is my everyone. Wait, what? Everyone must use Writer. I am currently streaming my day job. So up until about a week ago, I was streaming a separate project, a on the side project, because I went from being able to stream my work product to moving to a new company and not being able to stream my work product, but I still wanted to stream Blazor. So I was doing an application that we chose on stream, which if you're interested in that application, we got to a stopping point. It's all on YouTube if you're interested, but just be aware that the majority of the videos, the VODs for it, are me talking with chat and not coding as much. But now I'm at a point where I can stream my work again. So that's what I'm doing. And that it really has been helping my workday. And I hope that you are able to get something out of this too, because I am definitely able to get a lot from you guys, and it's been very helpful for these past 2 streams. Whoa. Okay, so I am going to create a Razor class library. So we're going to call this armits file import utility dot, and I'm just going to call it components because lazy. No, this is just a naming convention that I use, which is I'll use the solution name dot the thing that it is. I'm pretty sure it's pretty typical. So this is going to be a Razor class library. I don't need to support actual CS HTML pages or anything, so it's only going to be a regular Razor class library. And again, like I said, the majority of this, I'll keep the imports. The majority of this has already been done in my sample app. Oh, I guess I can tell you that part. So because this is my work product, the specific thing that I do at my job is web application development. Well, right now it's management, maintenance and management. There were a whole bunch of applications that existed when I first came to this job, 2017, I think it was 2020, 2017. Oh my gosh, it was probably 2017. They were JSP applications. They asked me to move them to Microsoft products. We had on-premise servers, so we had VB6 and JSP applications that access databases that were locally available to us. Then they said we can't be a data center. We have to move our services, our server-side services, to either the Army installation that was that oversees us, or a cloud solution. We chose a cloud solution. We went to AWS, moved all of the apps there, moved our databases there, moved our services there, and I converted, after converting everything from JSP to MVC. Blazor was just coming out, so I started moving everything over to Blazor, including the desktop applications. I went from VB to VB6 to VB.net. And so the thing that I work on, I don't know why I put work in quotes, but the thing that I work on are these applications, these applications that are geared around environmental cleanup and tracking and making sure that our soil and our water remains uncontaminated, because a long time ago, chemicals from a pesticide manufacturing plant and hazardous waste from chemical weapons were getting into the soil and causing a whole bunch of environmental chaos. But that all got cleaned up, and so now we are just making sure that there are no issues, that everything is still cleaned up. We have treatment plants. Instead of it being an army arsenal, it's now demilitarized to a wildlife refuge. So we have tons of different types of birds here. We have million billion bison, million billion different breeds of deer. It's crazy. It's good times. But yeah, if you're interested, just check out the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge. You'll see some pretty pictures. That's Denver in the background. Oh dear. So that's Denver. I used to work at the facility, which meant driving by all of these bison, and every now and then they would be in the road. It would be their road, and you wouldn't be able to get around them. You just have to sit and wait. If you wanted, if you live in the area, you can take the wildlife drive. So you enter here, and then you follow this black line, which takes you around where this lake is. This lake is really pretty. Up and around this way, and you'll see bunches of different deer. There's some trees and stuff over here that house different birds. Keep going, keep going. They tell you about this little, what are they called? Bomb shelter? not really a shelter, but the place that you actually go inside when you're testing artillery. They tell you the history of that and the history of the arsenal itself. Keep going. There's this eagle that lives, or that likes to hang out up here, and we've seen it recently over here. And then over here, and this is where all of the magic is. Like, I'm talking about all of this other stuff like it's not magical, but over here in the summer, like midday, if you go driving around, you could see some burrowing owls. Burrowing owls are so cool. Burrowing owl. I love these guys. They're most active during the day. Gosh. I can't see them without smiling. We finally got to see some burrowing owls. We had gone there so many times trying to spot them, and yeah, finally got to see some in real life. Anyway, cool stuff. So we're doing things to keep the environment safe, not only for the people that live in this area, but for the animals. There's an eagle repository there. There's a place where all of the confiscated poaching paraphernalia go. And yeah, just trying to keep it clean. Keep it clean. So the current project that I am working on, though, is one for this R-Track application. It's either going to be R-Track, or it makes most sense to put it in R-Track. But R-Track or RMA Water. Yeah, makes most sense to put it in R-Track. But what we do at the arsenal is that we collect soil and water samples, and we send them to the labs to have labs test them for higher than acceptable levels of various chemicals. And they send us that data back, and we need a way to get that data into the database. We currently have one lab that we relied on. They gave us the data back in a very consistent format. An application was written in 2008 or so that read that format and was able to dump it to the database, runs a whole bunch of checks on the actual data itself. And now we are getting data that is coming from other places, from other labs, and it's structured completely different. So I'm writing a tool, a library that will allow you to map from whatever type of file you get. It's most likely going to be a CSV or XLSX, and map whatever the value, the columns that you get in that red file to our database or any C# object, but eventually it's going to get into our database with the same checks run on the data as get run on the existing data. Oh, did I do it? So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking this UI from the sample application that I've been developing the library using and turning it into the official components that are going to be shipped with this library. So you can, I'll give I'll give the user or the consumer, the developer, 3 options for how to use this. Number 1 is to use only the source generator and write the rest of the library yourself, which includes the file data reader, the rules for being able to map from column to C# property, all of that stuff. The only thing that I'll give you are the building blocks for it, so the base classes. Option 2 is to use the library itself, which will have the logic for it to be able to map from a source column to a destination property. With extensibility built in, you could create your own rules as long as they inherit mapping rule base. You can create your own transformation operations as long as they inherit from value transformation base, but you get these for free. And number 3 is use it with the component library, Razor class library, aka Blazor component library, which will have the file picker for the types of files that are supported, and that will be extensible in the future. The data viewer and the mapper, as well as the transformation UI. So those components are what I'm going to now make for this library in a generic enough way that you'll be able to put whatever you want as titles, as style it however you want, etc. Then the last thing that we're going to do with it is make it specific to the lab data import stuff. Now that I say all of those things, I really should have created every single one of those things that I just listed off as tasks, but it's fine. I'll probably end up doing that on Monday morning when I start working on that again. But for now, we're going to continue on because I have 30 minutes before the end of my workday. Again, thank you all for being here for as long as you have. I definitely understand if you can't stick around for very long, but I really, really, really enjoy your company. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Just know that I won't be offended if you aren't able to stick around. Okay, so we're going to start with this file picker. It's going to be really easy because it's already written. I don't think there is anything that I would need to do to change it, except for the part where it's reading the data. My bad. There are going to be a couple things that I need to do to change it. The first thing that I want to make sure is that my UI portion, which one of you is the right one? This one, is referencing the utility. And also, man, yeah, this is how my brain goes. I'm like, wait, the very first thing 0 that I wanted to do is to make sure that this thing generates a NuGet package, because this will be available via our local NuGet feed. And when I make the open source version of this, that will also generate a NuGet package, which could then be published to NuGet. This does depend on another NuGet library, so I don't know what the oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Etiquette. What the etiquette is, because I am relying heavily on this Excel data reader in order to do the parsing from the specified XLSX or CSV file to dataset. Am I going to have to remove that functionality from the open source one? And if I'm wanting to put this on GitHub, or not GitHub, NuGet, for example, I don't know. Do I need to seek these guys' permission? I don't know. But I will definitely open source it on my personal GitHub, regardless. So call back regardless. Okay, so I need this information for you. Bonnet, pasta. And you are actually going to be code components is your base, except for this. Dang it. This and this. Oops. Actually, you know what? Just to be safe, why can't I undo? It's not letting me undo. No. Okay. We're not going to be safe. We're just going to leave it as is. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. We're fine. So the main thing that this thing does is it specifies, no, it doesn't. Property group, generate package on build, and generate documentation file. And so the reason that I turned these two things on is if I am planning on open sourcing this, then I would like for the XML comments to come through with it. And I would also want to be forced to write XML comments on all of my public methods and properties and members and stuff. And I say forced in air quotes because it's not going to error on me. If I wanted to be forced to do that, then I would tell it to treat warnings as errors. But otherwise it's just a warning, and the forced part of this is I don't like seeing the squigglies. So it's enough to force me to do it. Oh, I updated the file reader. No, not the file reader, the operations as well. Oh, it's going to be so good when you guys see this. It's going to be so much fun. Okay, so we have a NuGet package being created for this. We're going to use the same version number as the rest of the library. So even though I like having my different libraries have their own versioning, major version, minor version stuff, I want everything that's in the same library itself to the same solution to have the same version number. So these are the .NET 8 Blazor components for the armaments file import utility. We don't need .components on this. For utility, Blazor element library. Initial project setup. I never use the package release notes either. I really need to start updating those when I do these updates. Currently, because these are internal, I don't have any licenses that need to be done. But when I make them external, they're gonna have probably MIT2, maybe, or GNU V2. One of them, I'll figure out. Anything else? Night. We're good. Okay. I'm going to do the rest of the work in that samples solution. It's still going to affect the same repo because the projects themselves live in the local Git folder. It's just going to be easier for me to reference the existing code. Yes, please save. So I will existing project, repos, army git. Armaments import to the accident components. Man, you guys are so invigorating. Thank you. This feels really good. I feel like I'm back in the flow. Oh, so nice. Okay, data file reader is the first one that we're starting with. Let me see if there are any specific models, shared models. I forgot about that. We might still need to be in the other solution because there are these shared models that I might need specifically for the UI. So those would go in the utility. No, we're fine. We're good. Blazor component library. Okay, so let's just take a look at what the data file reader currently looks like. You will see a code block in some of these because of the way that I am rendering the component. So in this case, I'm putting it inside of a render context. Error boundary is what I meant to say. And I'm allowing the user to what? To provide. Why am I doing it this way? Oh, okay, okay. Do I really want to do it this way? So normally what you would do is, I'm going to take the code behind first so that I don't get any squigglies on that part. Anything special in here that is specific to lab data file? Yes. We'll need to update these from lab data files to just data files, sorry. And then the lab data file request. So that's going to give me some errors. Dang it. But we'll go ahead and create it anyway. Data file reader, razor CS. Partial. Pasta. We'll get there. We'll get there. Give me a sec. I don't have a response model. I don't have a lab data file request, but we do have imported data file. And I'm going to go ahead and put this models inside of imports because I do use it in multiple places. And no lab data service either. So I'm definitely going to want to use the file import utility .readxml, not readxml, read file. And I really, really prefer using these response models too. How am I going to handle that? I don't want to create another instance of response model. I have so many of these in so many of my applications. It doesn't make sense to create another library that has its own response model implementation. Like if I do that, then I would probably, that's tough. I'm really, really tempted to use all of the stuff from my, is there a dot shared? There isn't. From my dot models. So in this case, my actual import utility does not use a response model anywhere. Man. So I'm going to figure out how to I'm going to have to figure out how to handle exceptions that happen during the file read. Oh, that's another thing. Oh man, because this is a class library that's going to be shared now, not only do I have to add XML comments to regular Pogos and C# classes, but I need to do it to the components too. Great. So looking forward to that. All right, we're going to have to come up with a different approach than a request and response. Instead, we will get rid of the response in general. We won't even be able to get to save successful. Why do you even have a save successful property when I'm not actually sending anything from the reader to the database? Because I am. Every time you put a, you pick a new file, if it's a file name, no, if it's a, this is the intent at least. If it's a set of columns that it has not seen before, then it will save that set of columns to the database as a new template. But if it's a set of columns that it's seen before, then it'll just recall any records that have that as its template. We'll get there. That was hard to describe accurately and clearly. So you are going to be underscore file info, and you, and you. No save successful, no current request or response. Instead, to do, use the import utilities file reader methods. And we're going to still do that. We're going to do it by looking at the client logic, but I am going to go ahead and, man, I really want this response model object, but I'm going to try to go on without it. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to pull over the UI, and then we are going to fix the errors that we see. So where's the rest of these components? I'm so blind. Gimme. Yeah, okay. So what I was saying before is that the typical thing that you would do with a Blazor component is just put HTML in there. Does input file, okay, good. Thank goodness. Come with the framework is what I was about to ask. And it does. Handle file selected. What are you angry at? Oh, you're still angry at that. Oh, it's most likely because it can't clear this up. Where's file info supposed to be coming from? You are file info. Which I didn't get rid of. So why are you angry? Oh, because it's underscore file info now. Because it's a private field. There we go. Pretty. Okay, so in short, the reason that I had this markup in a code block as a render fragment was because I was starting to test out these error boundary things. So if an exception happened in the rendering of this component, it would not affect the entire application. However, when you use just the error boundary with the render content, so that would look like this. Last you there. Close off the tag. With a heading. Oh man, I can't control tab for anything suddenly. Child content. Wait, yeah, so it should have worked. Why are you angry now? Missing colon. Oh geez. You're starting to do that. Okay, so that's not a real warning. It's just because I have a style attribute and my style tag is a C# property. But anyway, I could at this point say if, oh man, Maybe I can. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm not going to say your name out loud in case you just want to stay anonymous and lurk. I don't want to make you feel weird or anything like I just did. But anyway, if error context, which for some reason it's not picking up as an actual object, but it is, promise. The error context. Oh, I don't know how to use this. I'm still learning how to use the error context. The point is, if an error did happen, it would give us back a default error UI. And I wanted to customize that error UI. Oh, thank you, other person, for the follow. Really appreciate you so very much. Thank you for being here. Point is, the contents inside of here, the child content would disappear. And I don't want the child content to disappear. I just want an error message to show with whatever stuff was originally in there. I don't want the input field to disappear if there's an exception. That's what I'm trying to say. Why was that so hard for me to articulate? So instead, I wanted to keep this there, and the only way that I found to do that was to use the two render fragments, error content and child content, so that the UI would be there regardless of whether there was an error or not. But that meant... Oh, and that is my my own component as well. So I guess I'll keep that. I'll do that in a second. Child content. That meant putting the same UI code, the same markup in here twice so that it stayed both times. And I'm like, that's repeating myself. So why not create a variable, private, what did I call you? Render main content, render fragment, render main content. At pasta. Semicolon. So why not make a variable and then just render the content in both places? And that's what I did. And that's how we got here. That was just to tell you the story of why I am using a code block. It's easier to use Razor syntax in the actual Razor page in the code block than it is to use the C# syntax in the code behind. Scott is saying, it's annoying, nothing we can do about it, tried everything. Try this, Scott. When it gives you the squigglies and you're kind of done with the page, then just put a semicolon at the end of style and then get rid of it again. And then it's okay. It's like, I'm happy. Okay, this default error. Oh, you usually put a space and remove it. I didn't know that a regular space worked. That's nice. Okay, I need this component here, and it's called default error. I just copy. I'm gonna mistype it if I don't. Pasta.razor.razor.cs. Go. Code behind for this should be... Does it even have a code behind? It doesn't have a code behind. That's CSS, isn't it? Oops. I guess I could put the parameter in the code behind. Typically, I put most of the stuff. I don't like using code blocks, but it doesn't make sense to create an entire code behind file just to have one parameter. To me. Might make sense to you, which is completely valid. Just not to me. Oh, and then I also use this a lot thanks to Scott. Scott, you're amazing. You have a ton of helpful knowledge. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So if it ever got bigger, then I could just control dot. How do you get the tab group on the side? So this is a feature in Visual Studio. It used to only be available in Visual Studio Pro and above, but now it's in Community for 2 or 3 major versions, I think. But there's when it's across the top, when it's across the top. Oh dear. Oh yeah, place tabs on top. I forgot that they changed it to where now it has 3 options. When it's across the top, click on the sprocket, and then you'll have an option to place it on the left or right. If you are a VS Code user, maybe you want it on the right. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, the Solution Explorer usually goes on the left for VS Code people. I don't know where you would put your tabs. Probably keep them across the top, but you could swap them like this if you so felt like doing so. The other thing that the other option that you might not want to overlook is colorizing it based off of either project or file extension. There aren't too many extra customizations you could do, but they do have this regular expression one, and then finally you can group or not group. Yeah, I really like it here, especially since most of the time what I do is I open the files that I care about and then I collapse my Solution Explorer. That gives me a lot more vertical space and horizontal space. And then also I collapse my bottom bar when it cooperates with me. I collapse the bottom panel is what I said. I tried using sidebar tabs, couldn't get used to it. Yeah, it does take some getting used to. And hello very much, Velma. Yes, I got it right. Thank you so much for the follow too. Very much appreciate that. Welcome in. My name is One Lion. I will be ending my stream in about 4 minutes, but I am a .NET developer. If you haven't been able to hear me up to this point, I work on real world projects. This is a project for a client that I'm currently working with. So this is my day job, and I work on a whole bunch of different applications for that client. These are the host of projects that I have. Not all of them are applications, but at least 9 of them are. And then a few libraries, along with all of our database libraries. So this is the big one. This is the one that has way too many. These are all of our databases that we use across our applications. Awesome. So I usually have been streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've been streaming for quite a while. I used to stream my day job, then I got another job, and it was every day for 6 hours. And then I got another job. I wasn't able to stream my day job, so then I was only streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday while I was working my new job, and it was 2 hours out of my day, so that extended my work day kind of stuff. But we worked on a different project. You could see that on YouTube if you're interested in it. No obligation or anything like that, but it's there to see what kinds of stuff we used to did. And now I'm back to being able to stream my job, which is coincidentally the same people that the same location that I used to work at, different company. And now I'm contracted to work directly with them as my own independent company. And so what you are seeing on stream is professional software development for a real world client, and these are real world applications that are used. And I hope that is something that you are able to get something out of, because I keep saying it, I get a lot out of you guys. You're in your junior year of computer science. I went to university as well. I'll leave out the long story part of it. I went to university as well, and I worked for the Department of Defense while I was in university. And then when I graduated, my permanent position was still in Department of Defense, but it was in human resources. the entire time. Even though I was doing information systems type stuff, it was in a human resources office. So I was doing recruiting and rating resumes and doing job descriptions and helping set pay, talking with managers to figure out what their needs are. And oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was a really bad time for me. But I finally got out and got to a private sector software development job after 15 total years in federal service. And I've loved it so much. Yeah, I can imagine. The only way that the networking happened for me to be able to get the private sector job was that I did get an opportunity while working in that human resources office to go to headquarters, I'll just say headquarters, and work on some of the software that was for human resources, which was in ASP Classic, VB, Net, web forms. It was great. But I met someone there, and then 6 years after that project, I contacted them again, and I'm like, I really don't like human resources anymore. I want to get into software. Do you have any recommendations? And they connected me with the person that was contracted with the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, and it went from there. And it was great. But I got lucky where it was just, I only needed one connection. Scott is asking, how many years of experience do you have in software dev? Unlike a lot of people, at least it felt like at the time, a lot of people had experience with doing some kind of programming going into their freshman year of college. I started college right out of high school, and I had little to no actual software development experience. I played with QBasic, I played with VB6, I played with Commodore 64 stuff, but none of it was ever creating an actual application to be used. And it seemed like all of my peers in my freshman year had already built stuff in Java, built websites, done all that stuff. I'd always been computer oriented, but not really software development wise. So I struggled a lot my freshman year. So that's to say, I started software development learning in 2000, and then I graduated in 2009 with my bachelor's degree. Yes, it took me 9 years to graduate. And from there, I was working human resources until 2017. During that 2009 through 2017 time period, I was doing side applications. I was trying whatever I could in MVC, in .NET MVC, keeping up with the technology that way. So I got more experience with that. So I say that I started in .NET, ASP.NET specifically in 2013. So that would make it 11 years of experience, because I was using it for my job, but I was also doing human resources work at the same time. Then in 2017, it was all .NET. It was all software development, and yeah. So either 7 or 11 years would be my answer. Or 24. If you want to say that it's from my first experiences with official languages like Java and C and C++. 24 years. Okay, anyway, that is my time. That is my workday. Thank you all so much, man. You make this day go amazingly. I forgot what it's like streaming with you guys. Oh, so good. Thank you for being here. I will be back again on Monday, and I usually start my streams at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, which is currently UTC -6. I may starting it earlier. I may add Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know. But I will go on Mondays and Wednesdays until 1:30. Friday, I really liked having our community day at normal time and then shifting to work product for the rest of the day, because, man, this felt good. Lurkers emerge like an unnatural eldritch horror. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Peter. Thank you for the conversations earlier too. If you are interested in seeing any of the content that we had today, for example, we had a community day before I decided to go ahead and do this stream. I was like, what is this thing saying? You ready to take your shot? I was like, automated realms? I said YouTube, not. Anyway, that was weird. Wait, why didn't the first one work, but the second one did? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, yeah, so I may increase the number of days that I stream, and then Mondays and Wednesdays, and if I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll go until 1:30 my time, because that would be an 8-hour workday. I get up at 4:30, start work, take an hour break, and then continue the rest of my day. So yeah, that's it. That's it for now. So after Big Gamey is done, I'm going to go ahead and set up a raid, and we're going to raid out to Canny Dev, because like I said, I'm afraid to raid bigger streamers, and right now Lana Lux, Lana codes it. Layla codes it. Lana Codes is working in Blender, and Annie is working in Godot, and yeah. So we're gonna raid. Thank you once again for being here. I'll post the VOD for the community day earlier, and the stream that we just had to YouTube before the next stream, most likely. We're about to, no, that's not how that works. Canny_dev. Is there anyone that I haven't shouted out that Stream Elements has been shouting out for me? There's Thindle again. We shouted him out before. Emporium Guy. We shouted him out before. Remind me here. TBD Gamer. We shouted him out a couple times. Ooh, Eagle Hansen. So if you ever have needed a testing library for your Blazor, oh, Dukasoft. Good grief. No, that's the better one to shout out. But still, for Eagle, if you needed a testing library for your Blazor components, then BUnit is a good one to check out. BUnit. He shows development of the library on stream, but Dukasoft streams on occasion. He streams what is it called? Drone footage and stuff. Yeah, it's really good times. He has a really good vibe on his stream. He's amazing. Yeah. Okay, that's it for now. Timer's running out. I'm losing my ability to think. Ciao. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.